Okay, please rise in body and spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, number 131. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot, peace has joined angels. If you cannot, speak for 4,000. All can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Thank you.
You can be seated.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Second Unitarian Church. I am John Broom, a member of the Board of Trustees. My pronouns are he and him. Now, usually, this would have been presented by Teresa Kennedy on behalf of the Garden Committee. However, Teresa couldn't join us today, so I welcome you in her stead. Today, we're in person at the Admiral at the Lake, the 2U Sanctuary, and continuing to meet virtually on Zoom. We're glad you're here, whichever way you're attending. Now, if you're in the sanctuary and would benefit from hearing assistance, we have devices available, as well as noise-canceling headphones for both adults and children who have noise sensitivities. Please see our very talented tech team in the back. They can get you hooked up. As we navigate varying needs for health and wellness, particularly related to COVID, we welcome you to wear a mask. We have masks available at the table as you enter the building. We especially welcome newcomers and visitors this morning. Finding a new community and making new connections can be challenging. Please know that we're excited to have you here and we look forward to getting to know you. Now, if you would like, there are blue mugs available during coffee hour that you can use to signal to others that you'd like them to come up and say hello. Now, if you're not sure what to say, the Drum Allies group has come up with a question each week to help spark conversation. You can find that question posted on the coffee hour table. Additionally, we always need people in the kitchen after coffee hour, and it's a great place to see old friends and make some new ones while lending a helping hand. Our worship today is led by the Reverend Jason Lydon, along with Pip Paris as worship associate. Music is provided by Sophia Bondurant and Director of Music Carl Kennedy. Our time together requires a large group of people who make possible the worship, the music, and the technical production. You can find announcements about what's going on at church in your order of service, and we encourage you to take it with you when you exit the sanctuary. But before you leave today, Please remember we have a congregational meeting following the service to vote on our housing a migrant family in our church. It's important that we have a quorum of members before we vote on this important issue. So please make sure that you help meet that number and have your vote counted. Now, this morning, as we greet our neighbor, it's vital to do this with the utmost focus on consent and comfort. Whatever method of greeting you do, please ask the other person if they feel comfortable with that same level of contact. This is the time to take a moment and greet your neighbor. Good morning. I don't know how to do it. Me neither. I'm not joining the...
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Good morning. My name is Pitt Paris. My pronouns are he, him, and his. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but by the values we share, where we keep love at the center. Whether you are joining us for the first time or the 1,000th time, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. Whatever your race, whomever you love, whichever way you move in the world, however much money is in your pocket, you are welcome here. I invite you, when you feel ready, to take a deep breath in and out. And now rise in body and or spirit to join in singing our congregational hymn, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me, bring in the heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Please remain risen and join me in reciting our covenant. We covenant to build a community that challenges us to grow and empowers us to honor the truth within ourselves. We will be generous with our gifts and honest in our communication, holding faithful to a love that embraces both diversity and conflict. Called by our living tradition, we will nurture spirituality within a vision of the eternal, living out our inner convictions through struggles for justice and acts of compassion.
Be seated. Who is feeling incredibly jealous of my fabulous boots? As you should be. And then who's been taking bets on if I'm going to fall over or not? Because you gotta be sure that you share those financial resources back into our church. If I'm falling, it is for you. In just a moment, Nolan here in the sanctuary and Harris at the Admiral will light our chalices, the symbol of our faith. And we light our chalices this morning with these words from Audre Lorde. Revolution is not a one-time event. It is becoming always vigilant for the smallest opportunity to make a genuine change in established, outgrown responses. So as our chalice burns brightly, may we embrace the possibilities of gender revolutions spiraling all around us.
And this song comes from Sarah Lynch Thomason. She is a activist and a folk musician and folk music historian in North Carolina. And she wrote the song in response to the North Carolina State 2016 trans bathroom bill. I was introduced to it for the first time a few years ago, and it's kind of has lived rent-free in my head ever since then. Both, I think, because of the first half of the song, which really does not pull any punches or sugarcoat the challenges and the threats that we are all facing, but then also for the radical defiance of the second half of the song. So this is "There Are More Waters Rising." Sorry. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to me. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. Burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. There are more fires burning, they will find their way to me. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. I know there are more mountains falling, this I know. There are more mountains falling, they will find their way to me. There are more mountains falling, this I know, I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. But I will wade through those waters, this I know. This I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. I will wade through the waters when they find their way to me. I will wade through the waters, this I know. This I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. And I will walk through the fires, this I know. This I know. I will walk through the fires, this I know. I will walk through the fires when they find their way to me. I will walk through the fires, this I know. This I know. I will walk through those fires, this I know. I will rebuild those mountains, this I know. This I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains when they find their way to me. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know. This I know. I will rebuild those mountains, this I know. 'Cause there are more waters rising, this I know. This I know. And there are more fires burning, this I know. And there are more mountains falling, and when they find their way to me, we will rebuild the mountains. We will walk through the fires. We will wade through those waters, this I know. This I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know.
I'd like to invite those young and body or spirit to join me at the chancel for our time for all ages. All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to read you a book today called It Feels Good to Be Yourself, a book about gender identity. Let's sit down below the steps so that everyone can see, please. This is Ruthie. She's a transgender girl. That means when she was born, everyone thought she was a boy, until she grew a little older, old enough to tell everyone that she's actually a girl. Girl is Ruthie's gender identity. This is Ruthie's brother, Xavier. Xavier is a cisgender boy. That means when Xavier was born, everyone thought he was a boy, and as he grew older, it turned out everyone was right. He is a boy. Boy is Xavier's gender identity. There are so many different ways to be a boy or a girl, too many to fit into a book. But not everyone feels like either a boy or a girl. Non-binary is a helpful word that can describe a kid who doesn't feel exactly like a boy or a girl. This is Ruthie's friend Alex. Alex is both a boy and a girl. When Alex was born, everyone thought Alex was a girl, but Alex is both a boy and a girl. This is Alex's gender identity. This is Alex's friend JJ. JJ is neither a boy nor a girl. Ever since JJ was very little, they never felt exactly like a boy or a girl. They just felt like themselves. This is JJ's gender identity. Alex and JJ are both non-binary. Just like there are many different ways to be a boy or a girl, there are many different ways to be non-binary. Too many to fit into a book. Some kids don't feel exactly like a boy or a girl. They feel like neither. Some kids feel that their gender identity isn't always the same. It's often changing. And even with all these possible ways to be, some kids don't feel any of the words they know fit them exactly right. There are a never-ending number of ways to be yourself in the world. Whether you feel like a boy, a girl, both, or neither, or if you describe yourself another way, that is your gender identity. Your gender identity might match what people thought you were when you were born, or it might not. See, when you were born, you couldn't tell people who you were or how you felt. They looked at you and made a guess. Maybe they got it right, maybe they got it wrong. What a baby's body looks like when they're born can be a clue to what the baby's gender will be, but not always. When people guess wrong, it's okay to let them know. Ruthie was 5 when she told her parents, "I know you think I'm a boy, but really, I feel like a girl." Oops, Ruthie was a girl all along. They just didn't know it at first. When people guess right, it's also okay to let them know. Xavier was 3.5 when he told his family, "I'm a boy. I like being a boy." You might feel like a boy, you might feel like a girl. You might feel like both boy and girl, or like neither. You might feel like your gender changes from day to day or from year to year. You might feel that none of these words describes you perfectly. You might not be sure yet. Maybe you're still figuring it out. Your feelings about your gender are real. Listen to your heart. No matter what your gender identity is, you are okay, exactly the way you are, and you are loved. It feels good to be yourself, doesn't it? I was so pleased to find this book. Sharing, we're actually not going to have a discussion about it because the book was a little long. I just want to make a couple points and then we'll head to our RE lessons. I think this book illustrates so clearly with both the illustrations themselves and the words, the acceptance that we want to feel for ourselves and for our community in all ways of identifying ourselves. And it is my hope that each and every one of you feels held, loved, and supported by this congregation and by your community, no matter what your identity is right now and what it may be in the future. Let's go ahead and sing the children to their classes.
What a lovely book for us to hear as we go about our service this morning. So each year, we all make a commitment, a pledge to support the ministry of our congregation. In addition to this pledge that you make each year, we take a collection every Sunday so that we can share with those who are doing justice work well beyond our walls. As the music plays, you will see a phone number on the screen, and you can do text to give. And if you're here in the 2U sanctuary, there will be plates coming around into which you can put your change, your cash, or checks. And for the month of March, we have been sharing our plate with our partner organization, One Northside. And you've heard quite a bit about their amazing work over the last few weeks. Though on the last Sunday of every month, we hear from somebody in our congregation doing ministry and work to keep our church going. And this morning we have some words from Barb.
I've enjoyed our 2U gardens in the 7 years that I've been lucky enough to soak up their variety and beauty. I'm so grateful to Teresa Kennedy, Monica Drain, and all those of you who have trimmed and planted and maintained our gardens over the years. I want to share a bit about what the future might bring and some memories. Do any of these match yours? In the back garden, I've enjoyed being able to see the wall of ivy turn green in the spring, discover little periwinkle flowers among the vinca planted for ground cover, spot hydrangea blossoms on a summer Sunday morning, walk the path with an imaginary labyrinth in my mind, sit on a bench meditating and exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide with the plants and trees, sing in the garden with choir members safely spaced out and masked during the pandemic, watch my 7-year-old grandson, then 4 years old, make new friends at the bouncy house set up for kids at our Fall Fest one year, have a bite of lunch, solo or with a friend, sip hot chocolate on a chilly day with Brittany, 2U kids, teachers, and parents, and know that our 2U covenant of earth and sky, coves, and others have gathered in the circle for rituals and spiritual sustenance. I'm really looking forward in the coming year to the new native species plantings that are friendly to pollinators and birds and will be low maintenance and tolerant to drought. Teresa reminds us that the most important change will be that anyone will be able to access the back garden, including a person using a mobility device. There will be a hard path from the front sidewalk to the stone circle in the back garden. And the garden committee is asking for help in designing the back garden and walkway. We hope everyone will answer the online survey. Hands-on work will begin in April and will be announced in the anvil and the order of service. If you are interested in helping with those plans, please sign up at the welcome table in the Palmer Room to help in a myriad of ways related to 2U's gardens. Thank you.
Now I invite you to join me in reading our offertory words. The words are printed in your order of service and are on the screen. This church is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the larger world around us. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
Join me in the spirit of meditation, or prayer. Let's begin by breathing together. In the busyness of our lives, there's so much to listen to, so much to say, so much noise around us. Let's take some time to embrace quiet together. Let's rest our bodies in the spirit of gratitude, thankful for the breath in our lungs, the beauty of our earth, and the strength of this, our beloved community. We hold in our hearts those who care for family in ill health, those who live with grief or chronic pain, those struggling with addiction or illness, seen and unseen. We're with you. For parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children, we are with you. We pray for our neighbors in prison, for those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty, for immigrants and refugees who are fleeing and seeking, finding new homes in our city amongst many. We are with you. We pray for all those living in harm's way. We pray for our planet and commit to work that will lead us away from the harms of climate chaos. As war and genocide rage on, we pray that wisdom, compassion, and empathy guide the leaders of our world. May they and we be instruments of a just and lasting peace. Our lives are blessed by those who are encountering the final stages of life. We offer prayers of comfort and care, knowing this journey is far from easy. Into this, our shared silence across space, I invite you now to speak aloud the names of anyone you wish to lift up into the loving support of this community. With our deepest compassion, let us hold in our hearts those named and unnamed, those remembered and those forgotten. Let it be so. Amen, and blessed be. During our ritual of lighting candles for joys and concerns, we want to continue to take care of one another. In the 2U sanctuary, I will invite you forward in a moment to light a candle, and as you end your time of contemplation and candle lighting, we invite you to use the hand sanitizer that's available. For those at the Admiral, I invite you to come forward. Take a pebble from one bowl, hold it tightly in your hand, putting your energy into the stone, and then knowing your joys and sorrows to be shared by this community, let it go lightly into the other bowl. And for those of us on Zoom, I invite you to join in by sharing your joys and concerns in our chat window. For those familiar, we are certainly going to Pink Pony Church this morning, where all of you, whatever your gender, can be queens in an anti-monarch kind of way. And we hold all of these, your beautiful, heartbreaking, inspiring, wrenching joys and concerns, sorrows and struggles close to our hearts. Pip, would you share our first reading, please?
Our first reading this morning is entitled, A Letter to My Young Sibs, written by Deja Baptiste. This poem comes from the Black Trans Prayer Book. When I really began to consider living my truth, transitioning and refusing the gender label and expectations I had been rebelling against and terrorized by my whole life, I imagined the worst. One of my greatest fears was of all that I would lose: my family, my name, my place in the stories and histories I grew up on, and memories I had been a part of making. I cried over futures I thought I'd never get to have. But on the other side of all that, I've learned a few secrets. That I was not the first trans person in my family, my hometown, my church, my schools, or any of the neighborhoods I'd lived in. We have always been here. We are infinite. I have maybe been the first one who could live so openly and have as many choices for myself, my body, my names and chosen families and careers as early as I have, but I was never the first. The ones before held as much courage, every bit of will and magic in their breaths. We are a lineage of spirits who knew that life, that flesh, has more to offer than any binary. That our souls, our spirits hold more truth than the rules of power forced on us at our expense. Prophets, we are willing to face what comes, to speak the truth of who we are. We are free. I was convinced to be terrified and apologize for what I would break or lose when I began to live as myself. I didn't trust the intuition that I was only forging new links in old chains. I couldn't see that I was healing, not cursing, the latch and dreams my parents held for me. I hadn't learned yet to tune into what is true, not only what we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and receive the blessings of each and every one of my ancestors, alive and dead. I feared living for my truth, but I feared living in other people's shame, fear, regret, and lies even more. No one died, even though I was reborn. No one could have been buried or mourned where there is only a miracle to celebrate. I was a mother's daughter, a fatherless son. I gave myself a name when they refused to, and I studied and taught myself how to walk, speak, live in this new life of mine. Freedom tastes bitter and sweet at the same time.
It's nice when a reading really resonates, huh? Our second reading is a poem by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto entitled The Butterfly Effect. I wish the knowledge were easier to come by that individualism is just a scam, that you are always the butterfly wings. You are always the storm. Edward Lorenz, a weather scientist from MIT, is sometimes misquoted on this as the premise that the flap of a butterfly wing can cause a hurricane in a different part of the world. Shorthand, that isn't all that close to a representation of the math-tuned weather scientist's work. He proposed that should we make even a tiny alteration to nature, we will never know what would have happened if we had not disturbed it, since subsequent changes are too complex and entangled to restore a previous state, which is to say that you have an immeasurable effect on the system. It will change you, will shape its DNA. You must not believe that the lying lie that you do not matter, that whatever change you can organize is so insufficient as to not be worth your time, your energy, your life force. You must be willing to dream a dream that carries forward your community. This is how we rise. This day is polluted with a mistrust of truth, fertile and warm medium of unchecked cruelty and power. You must choose to scream the truth until every leaf and stone bears unrepentant witness to what happens when you try to cage and smash, to pin and frame a butterfly. And there are thousands and thousands of fabulous, flamboyant friends. Let us hear our anthem.
Before we hear from Sophia one more time, just a brief acknowledgement. This song comes from the Black trans activist and singer-songwriter Shay Diamond. She wrote her first hit song while incarcerated at a men's facility in the early 2000s. And I just want to say that I just feel very grateful for Miss Diamond to for her blessing and her permission for us to use the song in the service today.
I don't like antiques, I want something new. The world don't like no freaks coming in their room. But this beggar's got a right to choose. I'm not a stranger, I'm just like you. I need love, I don't need money. After all these years, baby, I'm still running. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? I get looks that get so dirty. After all these years, baby, it's still hidden. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? Just want a piece of the American pie. You got yours, where is mine? Lick my fingers on this thing called life. Just a piece of the American pie. Break the chains of old beliefs. I'm the flame that you can't unsee. I don't like antiques, I want something new. I got my dignity, gonna live my truth. Like the southern smile I just can't lose. Let my light sweep across the room. You may laugh, but it's not funny. That's the thing that keeps me coming. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? All those looks that get so dirty lets me know that they're still winning. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? Just want a piece of the American pie. You got yours, where is mine? Lick my fingers on this thing called life. Just a piece of the American pie. break the chains of old beliefs. I'm the flame that you can't unsee. Whoa, no, no, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, 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 no. Oh, no, no. No, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. Just a piece of the American pie. You got yours, where is mine? Lick my fingers on this thing called life. Just a piece of the American pie. Break the chains of old beliefs. I'm the flame that you can't unsee. I don't like antiques, I want something new.
Sophia, thank you. Beautiful. We are living amidst the beauties and anxieties of gender revolution. The gender binary is being smashed. People are coming out as transgender and non-binary all over the place. Gender-neutral bathrooms are common. People are talking openly about gender as performance. Children are being raised with gender subversion. Libraries are hosting drag story time, and the list goes on and on. Actually, in fact, why don't you take a moment and think in your mind about one aspect of this gender revolution, gender transformation, gender liberation that you've noticed over the last 25 years. Find it in your mind. Give you a few seconds. Find that in your mind. And then I want you to turn to your neighbor and share what has come to your mind. Ideally, you'll share with someone you didn't come to church with, so look behind you, in front of you, but maybe next to you, and take this moment to share about how gender liberation has inspired you. This is a moment to do so. All right, thank you so much. We're going to come back together. I know there's so much more to talk about, and I hope you keep these conversations going, not just today, but every day. I wish I could have heard all of that. I'm curious about what is coming up for you right now. I'm curious to hear how gender revolution is impacting your own life. The incredible activist and author Leslie Feinberg writes, "Gender is the poetry each of us make out of the language we are taught." Can you imagine your gender as a practice of poetry? Whether you identify as cisgender, transgender, non-binary, or any of the many, many other terms available to us, you're invited to see your gender as poetry. Here at 2U, we recently started a men's group. We've met twice so far and are starting to talk about what it means to be men in this world. Too often, cisgender men ignore our gender. Because of patriarchy, cisgender men are considered the norm, against which all other genders are defined. When one identifies as a privileged group within a system of oppression, whether that be white supremacy, imperialism, ableism, the privileged group gets to choose to ignore the systems we're part of. The gender revolution we are in right now is working to force all people, regardless of gender, to confront gender norms and open the door to the possibility of something that is liberating for everyone. What is good for transgender women is good for cisgender women, is good for cisgender men. When we organize and build from the margins, we have the capacity to secure justice for everybody. When you heard from your neighbor about the aspects of the gender revolution most speaking to them, I wonder if any of you felt challenged. Did any of the ideas you were hearing feel revelatory? Did you identify with what they were saying? Are you curious to learn more? Janet Mock, who identifies as a Black transgender woman, writes this: "Though I would grow up to fit neatly into the binary, I believe in self-determination, autonomy, in people having the freedom to proclaim who they are and define gender for themselves. Our genders are as unique as we are. No one definition is the same. And compartmentalizing a person as either a boy or a girl based entirely on the appearance of genitalia at birth undercuts our complex life experiences." This quote from Janet Mock makes me think about a diagram that is part of a video called Transgender Basics that you can find on YouTube. For 7 years, I volunteered with an LGBTQ intimate partner abuse organization and learned so much about the importance of educating everybody around us that we could about the impacts of gender and sexuality. The Transgender Basics video was an incredibly useful tool for us, and I encourage you as well to check it out. The diagram that's in this video details out a gender model that is intended to be more authentic. The diagram includes sexual orientation, sex, and gender. Sexual orientation of these ideas is often seen the most as a spectrum. Many people have even heard of the Kinsey scale, where 1 is exclusively opposite sex attracted and 6 is exclusively same-sex attracted. Most people are neither a 1 nor a 6. Maybe you've heard this before. Sexual orientation gets included in this diagram of authentic gender because too many people confuse sexual orientation and gender. Everyone has both. In this model, sex is also on a spectrum because, between woman and man or male and female. There are times when people might be able to acknowledge that gender is fluid, but that sex, they often think, is a strict binary. But this is far from true. Some people have ambiguous genitalia. Intersex people are vital parts of our communities. Some people have a mix of chromosomes. Sex is not as binary as some people like to think that it is. What I like best about this model, though, is how they understand gender. They suggest that gender is not made of a straight line between woman and man or masculine and feminine. Instead, gender is made up of 6 billion dots, with each person having their own unique gender. We might casually lump people into groupings, but the truth is that these groups can be highly limiting. I am a man as every other man? No, silly. Your gender is more complicated than that. The author S. Bear Bergman suggests this. So please, for the love of gender, go bloom or water someone else while they do. Your gender deserves to be seen and celebrated, whatever your gender might be. You should be affirmed in your own exploration and articulation of your gender. When queer theorists and feminist scholars describe gender as a performance, they're not suggesting that gender is not real or essential to a person. The performance framework recognizes that gender is not innately prescribed. It is something that we create, recreate, dismantle, and give life to many times in our lives, even many times in our days. It might be safer to express your authentic gender at home than it is for you to do so at work. It might be safer to express your authentic gender at church than it is to do so at home. Can you allow your gender to bloom here? Can you celebrate the fullness of who you are? Does it feel scary? Does it feel liberating? I want us to sing together. This is always one of my scariest things I do at church, is leading songs from the pulpit, but we're going to do so anyway. The words will be on your screen, and this is How Could Anyone Tell You? How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. When I was a freshman in college, my favorite class was all about gender in literature. I can still picture the professor Mitch because I had a crush on him. We read an assortment of books: Maxine Hong Kingston's Warrior Woman, Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried, Leslie Feinberg's Stone Butch Blues, and James Earl Hardy's B-Boy Blues. I don't remember the curriculum of any other class, but I remember every book we read. As part of the class, we were required to keep a daily gender journal. We were expected to turn it in at the end of the semester. It felt a little vulnerable, to be honest, about my gender when I knew somebody else was going to read it. I decided, though, to be as authentic as I could. It was an invitation, really, for me to practice honesty about my gender. I came out as gay when I was 12, but did not spend much time thinking about my gender. I remember attending a Unitarian Universalist LGBTQ youth conference in 1998, where I had my first close-up experience with drag queens. I didn't feel compelled to dress in drag myself, but felt a kind of pride that our community could open itself up to gender expression that subverted what was being offered in so much of dominant culture. Drag belonged at church. Things changed for me, though, a bit in college. I started wearing long, flowy skirts. I wore nail polish. I flirted with some makeup. I did dress in drag once to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show at midnight on Halloween. Anyway, yeah, it's fun times. Mitch offered us some prompts for our journal writing. I can't remember exactly what those prompts were, but I remember writing about playing baseball as a little kid, being expected to be tough. I was never particularly tough. I remember having no friends who were boys because I didn't seem to fit in with them. And I long assumed this was because everyone knew I was gay, but as I journaled in 2001, I started to wonder how my gender might have played in. Was I a boy? Was I a man? Was I something else? Today I have a clearer sense of my gender, and I use a term for my gender that I'm not actually going to say from the pulpit because it's not a word that necessarily feels good to everybody, but it feels good and right for me. This word in gay community, queer community, might be called the gay F-bomb. If you don't know the word I'm talking about, you can ask me after service and I will tell you. You could also turn to your neighbor and be like, what is Reverend Jason talking about? While I know that this word is hard for many people, it is powerful and beautiful to me. It describes the way my gender plays out in the world, and it honors these fabulous boots that I am wearing this morning. Yeah, right? Side note, not in the script. When I went to go buy these boots, I was like, I'm gonna wear fabulous boots for Gender Revolution Sunday. It's gonna be so fun. I went to the store to do so. I tried them on. I was walking around in them and I thought, absolutely not. This is not going to work. I started putting them away and this woman came up to me and said, those boots are fire. I was like, well, now I have to have them. But so not only does this word describe my boots, this word describes the way I cross my legs. This word affirms the pitch and cadence of my voice. This word says it's okay to have a beard and bald head and still cry when things are hard. My gender, the word that works for me, belongs to me, just as your gender, the words that work for you, belong to you. I want to quote Leslie Feinberg again. I'm not saying we'll live to see some sort of paradise, but just fighting for change makes you stronger. Not hoping for anything will kill you, for sure. Take a chance, Jess. You're already wondering if the world could change. Try imagining a world worth living in. And then ask yourself if that is worth fighting for. You've come too far to give up on hope, Jess. It seems like Sunday after Sunday, we are acknowledging that we're living in hard times. This acknowledgement feels important as these hard times are on all of our minds. There are so many bills around the country attacking transgender people. The president is using his power to target trans people in so many facets of life. It's disgusting. And it's easy to get hopeless. But it's also important to remember that while we are in a gender revolution right now, We have been in many gender revolutions as society before. People of marginalized genders have risen up to secure rights and freedom. In the struggle for gender liberation, there has always been reactionary backlash. These reactionaries are striving to hold on to the power of the patriarchy. They are, though, they're doomed. As feminist author Robert Jensen writes, the system of patriarchy is a historic construct. It has a beginning, it has an end. And that is what gives me hope. While we may not see the end of systemic antagonism against people of marginalized genders in our lifetimes, and may it be so that we do, but it will end. It must. We are in an atrocious reactionary moment. And yet people are fighting back with creativity and beauty, with mutual aid and dance parties, with court cases and self-defense classes. Where are you in this gender revolution? Where do you want to be? How can our church join in authentically? Allow your genders to bloom, friends. Offer water to those around you so that they may bloom in their own genders. Take up your part in the gender revolution. Let it be so, and amen. Please rise in body and or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 1017, Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed only weed. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We are feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. But nothing's the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
I invite you to rest your hands upon your heart or clasp hands with those you're sharing your life with. Sharing our pronouns is just the beginning. Let us take risks together to share our genders. Let us be worthy of the trust needed for this sharing to occur. Your gender is unique to you, shaped by the life you have lived, the systems we live in, the books you've read, the dances you've done, and the messages you've received, and the spirit that lives within you. Embrace your own authenticity and keep exploring. Go in peace, beloveds.